Hello and a very warm welcome to the first episode of Straight from the Source. My name is Krystal and I'll be facilitating these NBS Q&As with Source. NBS standing for No Bullshit Spirituality, and they will be channeled through Alex Retrov. Now, whenever I refer to Source, I refer to him as he, simply because it comes through a masculine voice. But ultimately we all know that Source is the all that is. Source is the creator, creatrix. Source is oneness, so therefore it is neither feminine nor masculine. But because it comes through in these conversations as a masculine voice, sometimes I refer to it as he, but please replace that when you want. Now, the reason why we called it No Bullshit Spirituality is because the answers that are coming through are so incredibly to the point, straight down the line. There really is no bullshit. The pure divine source does not buy into the new age of light and love. It does not buy into the fact that we all are love and that we need to get back into that state. If we wanted to be love, we would have stayed up in the fifth dimension and lived in that blissful state at all times. Here on earth, we are here to experience the lights and shades of everything. We are here, if we are star-seeded, to assist human consciousness to evolve, or if we are human consciousness, we are here to raise our consciousness through experience. So we have invited questions and will continue to do so, for you to send in your questions that you would like to put to Source to see what perspectives may come in. And I'm telling you, there will be times when the answers will challenge your current belief systems, because we have invested so much time into rituals and making things quite complex. Often because that will give the ego of a guru, it will fulfill the ego of a guru. So things have become incredibly complex here on earth, whereas in fact they all boil down to some very simple statements, to some very simple truths. So if you find yourself being triggered, just know that it is because you have bought into a certain belief and made that your own. And what you're being shared, what you're being told, does not sit in alignment with that. And therefore, we can see that every single belief that we hold is a prison for us. Whether it's a resourceful prison or an unresourceful prison, it is still a prison, because it is not allowing everything to be part of the truth. It just has one truth. So for example, if you believe that the world is a hostile place, you will act in a certain way and you will filter out any kindness, any love that you may be receiving. And that's probably not a nice place to live. If on the other hand you believe that the world is a loving, kind place, again, you will be filtering out any of the hostility, any of the crap that is also part of our culture, of our society. So both of them have their limitations, because this part here means that we may not have the discernment, the wisdom and the acuity, like the sensory acuity, the listening into what maybe when something doesn't feel so good. So it is a case of releasing all beliefs, and Source is continuously saying have no beliefs, and then you can be present in the moment and respond to whatever is in alignment with your heart in that moment. The minute you have beliefs and filters, you perceive the reality, you perceive truth, you perceive life through those filters. And whilst moving from one unresourceful belief to a resourceful belief is a very useful stepping stone, and I have done that with clients many times myself, ultimately where we want to get to is a place of no beliefs, so that we can be open to everything and receive everything without attachment. And if we have no attachment, it means that we have no need to defend anything, no need to defend our beliefs. Our ego will not kick in to defend ourselves to keep us safe. So I invite you to approach these Q&As, these conversations, with an open heart, to see what resonates, and if any questions come up as a result of what Source is saying, please write them in. In the next episode we will go more deeply into the themes and to the questions discussed in this one, and answer any questions that have come up for you as a result of listening to this conversation. Thank you for being with us to answer some of the questions that have come in.
It's my pleasure.
Beth is asking, she's saying, I'm curious about why the wild woman is diminished, and can she be recovered? And if so, how do I know her?
Why is the wild woman with every woman diminished? Because she has diminished her. Simple as that.
And how did that come about?
It was her choice. It can't be taken from her. She should be looking as to why she has chosen to diminish it.
Yes. And in our society it would appear that that is a conditioning, that women are not encouraged to express the wild woman.
Oh, more than that. They are conditioned to suppress her.
So how can she be recovered?
She's not lost. Remove the conditioning that suppresses her.
And the third part of that question that Beth asked is, how then do I know her?
How do you know yourself? Who are you really? Are you the labels that people give you? Woman, wife, daughter, sister. These are just labels. How do you know her? You are her. The question is, why is it that you do not know her? You do not know her because you have not allowed her to speak.
So if we allow her to speak, if we tune into ourselves, eventually she will answer.
Of course, it is only your own fears that prevent her from speaking up.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Kirsty is asking, she's saying, we all know when a woman is intimate with a man, there is a strong energy exchange. Is this correct?
No. Number one, we do not all know. The majority of you know nothing of this. Some of you believe that there is an energy exchange. This is a fallacy. There are energy exchanges in everything. You pick up a cup, there is an energy exchange. To think that there is some special difference and some magical energy exchange happening that is different to anything else in the world is a fallacy. Of course it is different because you have different entities interacting, different objects interacting. There is an energy exchange when you pick up a stone because you transfer heat from your hand to the stone. This is an energy exchange. What she is trying to imply is that there is some sort of special energy exchange, and she believes that that power is somehow controlled or instigated by the woman. What does she mean? Is she implying there is some sort of shift of consciousness?
Yes, so that is the second part of the question. Can you explain the process of how a woman, especially a high priestess, cleanses and purifies a man into higher realms of consciousness vibration?
Well, that is just ego. How can a woman cleanse a man's consciousness? Only an individual can change their own consciousness. And how do you cleanse a consciousness? Does that mean you wipe it clean, erase everything from it? Consciousness is what it is. This person needs to rethink their question because they have many false premises.
She also shared an experience that she had upon which these questions came about. I will just read this to you so we can perhaps rephrase those questions together. She's saying, I have witnessed a man transform right in front of my eyes this past month, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and his creativity has exploded. It has been magical to witness, yet the last 2 days I felt I have purged for the two of us, bedridden, spiritual flu, headaches, fatigue. Is this normal when two unite in alchemy and for the woman to feel it so deeply? The man has been anchoring this energy and being fully supportive during the process. So I was wondering if you could expand on this a little more.
Of course I can, but there are many things in there to address. Where would you like me to start?
That she has witnessed a man transform right in front of her eyes due to the sexual interaction that they had together.
The man transformed his level of consciousness because of his own awakening. She believes it's because of the sexual interaction they had between the two of them. But that is not the case. No one has any sort of shift of consciousness because of anyone else. They have a shift of consciousness because of themselves and their reaction in that moment. She may have been a trigger for it, but she had nothing to do with his shift of consciousness.
So then the question comes, how is it then that she feels these physical effects that she has felt purged for both of them, spiritual flu, headaches and fatigued?
Because she is emotionally and ego attached to it, and therefore she wants to create some sort of response. Therefore she creates it.
She's asking the next one, is it normal when two unite in alchemy for the woman to feel it deeply?
Wow, here we go again. We're using terms that separate us from the world. When they unite in alchemy. What is alchemy? Alchemy is a transition to another form. That is a shift of consciousness. The shift of consciousness happens individually.
There is also a question in here about the womb of the woman absorbing any so-called negativity, so-called patterns, so-called fears, and transmuting them in alchemy. I think that's something that she was implying as well.
If that is her belief structure, then that is what she will do. It is not that she is absorbing them from him. She is mirroring and creating them within herself. They may not even exist in the man. They may be her own beliefs of what exists in the man, and she is exalting herself by claiming that she has absorbed them from the man and transmuted them into some higher form. That is her belief, but it is not necessarily truth.
What is the truth?
Whatever you choose to believe is your truth, but it is not the truth.
What is the truth about sexual interaction in order to raise consciousness?
The two things are independent. You may very well awaken your consciousness during a sexual activity, but the awakening of consciousness does not happen because of the sexual activity.
Yes. Thank you.
You are welcome.
The last question is one that I have. The Dalai Lama has said that the world will be saved by Western women. Firstly, is the Dalai Lama right?
Yes and no.
Can you expand on the yes and then the no?
Well, let me give you the no first. By the world, does he mean the earth itself, the very physical form and substance of the earth? No. Because the earth will go through its own transition, irrespective of what happens on it. It is neither saved nor not saved. It just is. But if he refers to the world as civilized man, then yes. The only hope for this civilization must come from the Western women.
So with the events rapidly moving and escalating into a world war, what are the Western women called to do to so-called save the world?
To stand up as one and say no. They have not done this. They keep wanting to fight. And in this respect, they are just as the men. It is just another battle. The women must embrace their divine feminine, fully, completely, stand strongly to assist the masculine to step back into its divine form rather than its wounded form.
These world events still have to take place. So is it that the Western women, they need to step up and say no afterwards?
At all times. The sooner the better. The women have been suppressed by choice for so long. They have allowed the masculine to run the planet, to make decisions. And look at the state of the planet. But do the women stand up? No. They form more than half the population. They are the majority. But they cower down and submit themselves to the logic of men.
So how does that specifically look like if a woman, it always says women need to unite to say no. Does that mean going onto the streets? That would be another form of rebellion, which is buying into the masculine. Is it each individual woman? How specifically can we imagine this?
Quite simply, in every moment of the day, when you are presented with things that are not in alignment with the divine feminine purpose, you simply say, that is not acceptable, I am not partaking.
Yes, and if every woman does that, that's how we change the world.
Exactly.
Yes. Thank you.
You are welcome.
While we are on the topic of the world war, I have another question for this. Everyone is praying for world peace, which may or may not have delayed the wars from escalating into the Third World War yet. But the US government is still pushing towards the wars. Please tell us what the purpose of a Third World War is from a higher dimensional perspective and whether it is avoidable. So, yeah, I can break it up. We'll do it step by step.
Yes.
So everyone is praying for world peace, which may or may not have delayed the wars from escalating into the Third World War.
This is unfortunate. Because if you pray and put energy towards world peace, that energy must first go towards a war. Do you understand this?
Yes.
You cannot have peace unless there is a war first. So therefore all of the people who are praying for peace are in fact creating a war. And this is so that they can have their prayers answered and a peace can exist. So what should they do instead? They should put their energy towards everything happening with divine purpose. End of story.
Because the very reason why they are praying for world peace is to avoid that underlying fear, and because consciousness with intent manifests, what they are manifesting is the fear.
If you can imagine a caterpillar, and it is about to go through its metamorphosis to become a butterfly. These people are praying that the caterpillar will stay a caterpillar.
The US government still seems to be pushing to make this war happening.
It is not the US government who is pushing for this war. It is those who control the governments of the world. They desire this war to happen, and it will happen.
So then please tell us, what is the purpose of this Third World War from a higher dimensional perspective, and is it avoidable? Well, you already answered that.
Well, it is not avoidable, it is essential. The purpose of this conflagration is to drive human consciousness to unity status. For them to understand that they are all one, they must all suffer as one. And to understand that their very resistance to standing up to this has caused it. They have surrendered their unity consciousness to a handful of people. This is self-created by the lack of unity consciousness. Therefore, it is only once they realize they are all suffering together that they can stand as one and say, stop. It must happen, because they have been given every other chance to do it and failed. The higher dimensional purposes are to assist human consciousness in its spiritual evolution. Physical lives are an illusion. Consciousness goes beyond life form. The death of millions of people for the advancement of consciousness is the purpose. For those beings can then incarnate at a higher level. Whilst humans fear their own personal safety, and yet still allow, through their negligence, wars to exist, they will stay at the level of consciousness, and this is not desired. The purpose of the universe is to expand awareness, expand consciousness. It will not be tolerated to stay at the same level. Therefore, stimulation must occur.
There are so many people who believe that in 2012 something happened energetically that has already given us a choice to now live in a heaven on earth if we choose it, or stay in this third dimensional existence simultaneously. What do you say to that?
Events happen every microsecond, and they are all significant. There is no one event that is any more significant than any other event. The ant crawling across the sand is just as significant as the release of an atomic bomb. You just do not understand the significance, because all is one, all is connected. It is often described as the butterfly wing effect. Every event affects every other event. Those people who believed that may just find themselves in for a bit of a rude shock. But if they believe in a heaven on earth, then they will try to create a heaven on earth after all of this has happened. Or they will try to create a heaven state in the lower fourth dimensional realm.
Do you have anything else? Do you have anything else to add to this topic of world war?
It is not for me to determine. You have the freedom to create whatever you desire. The war is inevitable. The length of the war and the extent of the war will depend on your own consciousness. If you decide after one day that that is enough, then you as one will all stand up and say, stop. But that will not happen. You will allow this war to go on until such a time as it actually affects each and every one of you. And only then will you say enough. Because you are selfish. You would like to think you are not, but actions speak louder than words. If you were not selfish beings, you would never have got to this stage. You are welcome.